I put together a few things many of you have already seen, some things many of us may not have seen. But these key things, look at them with an open mind. Could this mean not only assassination, but treason and the overthrowing of the United States government by those in government? In the next photo, you will see the gaping hole in the president's throat, which the Warren Commission said was an exit wound.
His article states, later in the afternoon, Dr. Malcolm Perry and attending physician Dr. Kemp Clark, chief of neurosurgery at Parkland Hospital, gave more details. Mr. Kennedy was hit by a bullet in the throat just below the Adam's apple, they said. This wound had the appearance of a bullet's entry.
Remember what they said, an entry wound just below the Adam's apple. I'm sure many of you have seen this, but for those who didn't, this is the photo I found.
Shots came from the southeast window. How, I don't know. The Dallas police were saying this, so we immediately went there. And Deputy Sheriff Luke Mooney was with me when we found the shells. We found 3 hulls beside the window on the 6th floor. And they were laying 3 in a row, not more than an inch.
This was breast, the 3 spent cartridges.
3 spent cartridges. They were lying 3 in a row, not more than an inch apart, all pointing in the same direction. Of course, I didn't touch them. They hadn't been photographed or fingerprinted or anything. I didn't touch those. And there was a lunch sack, very small, brown paper lunch sack up there. Had some chicken bones in it. And there was a soda bottle sitting on the box. And we began then to search for a weapon. And we started toward, everybody took a different direction, and Deputy Sheriff Boone and myself just happened to head for the northwest corner of the building. And Boone was ahead of me by about 8 feet. And there were a stack of boxes just at the head of the stairwell going downstairs. And Boone looked over into it and said, "Here it is. Here's the rifle." So I immediately went over beside him and looked over, and there was a rifle. But we didn't touch it until Captain Fritz and Lieutenant Day from the ID department of the Dallas Police Department got there. Now, Captain Fritz was chief of homicide, and Lieutenant Day was from the Identification Bureau. They got there and took some pictures of the rifle. And then I believe Dave pulled the rifle out and handed it to Captain Fritz, who held it up by the, had a strap on it. He held it up by the strap and asked if anyone knew what kind of rifle it was. Well, by this time, Deputy Constable Seymour Weitzman had joined us. And Weitzman was a gun buff. He had a sporting goods store at one time. He was very good with weapons. And he said it looks like a Mauser. And he walked over to Fritz. And Captain Fritz was holding the rifle up in the air. And I was standing next to Weitzman, who was standing next to Fritz. And we weren't any more than 6 or 8 inches from the rifle. And stamped right on the barrel of the rifle was 7.65 Mauser. And that's when Weitzman said it is a Mauser and pointed to the 7.65 Mauser stamp on the barrel.
There's an intonation to that statement that it should mean something.
Well, the shells we found came from a 6.5 Italian rifle.
You mean those three
The
cartridges?
two don't relate.
Three cartridges that were
Found
not
at the
more than an inch
southeast
apart in
corner
the southeast corner.
came from a 6.5 Italian carbine.
The strongest element in the case against Lee Harvey Oswald was the Warren Commission's conclusion that his rifle had been found on the 6th floor of the book depository building. Yet Oswald never owned a 7.65 Mauser. When the FBI later reported that Oswald had purchased only a 6.5 Italian Mannlicher Carcano, the weapon at police headquarters in Dallas miraculously changed its size, its make, and its nationality. The Warren Commission concluded that a 6.5 Mannlicher Carcano, not a 7.65 German Mauser, had been discovered by the Dallas deputies. Yet Roger Craig's observation was supported by this affidavit signed by Dallas Deputy Constable Seymour Weitzman on November 23, 1963, in which he swore that he did discover a, quote, 7.65 Mauser, bolt action, equipped with a 4/18 scope with a thick leather brownish black sling to it, close quote. One of the members of the Warren Commission, then Congressman Gerald R. Ford of Grand Rapids, Michigan, wrote that the rumor that a German Mauser had been found was based upon a police officer having told a passing reporter that he thought he might have seen a Mauser. That explanation appears to be false. In view of Craig's statement, Weitzman's affidavit, a copy of which I gave to the Warren Commission and to Congressman Ford in 1964, and in the face of newly discovered documents, which we have just secured from the CIA files after having made an application under the newly amended Freedom of Information Act. Roger Craig never saw these documents, but they offer very strong corroboration for his statement. This CIA report, dated November 25, 1963, just 3 days after the assassination, states that the murder weapon was a Mauser. And this CIA report, 3 days later, specifically states that the assertion, which later became the Warren Commission's cornerstone in the case against Oswald, the assertion that the murder weapon was a Mannlicher Carcano, is in error. Thus, Craig's original observation, buttressed by Deputy Constable Weitzman and the CIA's investigation, tends to destroy the case against Oswald.
Were any slugs found?